let you know you're being recorded at this point in time.
Yeah, I know.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Ew.
I do the countdowns here, bitch. 5, 4, 3. Can you fix your camera? There's a lot of wiggle room up there. Thank you. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2. And welcome back. It was a short break because it's a short week. We're coming right back to it. Another great show at the Apex Center. This time it's a pay-per-view. UFC 250 is coming straight from Las Vegas, back-to-back weeks in the Apex Center. This time headlined by the greatest fighter of all time. That includes men and women. I don't care what anybody says, because if you look over in the men's side, it's really cloudy. There's multiple options, and some are wrong and some are really wrong. But Amanda Nunes is the consensus GOAT in the women's division. And after Saturday night, I think she would pretty much solidify herself as the greatest fighter of all time, because we've had multiple simultaneous champions, but we've never had one who's been able to defend it in both weight divisions. Amanda Nunes will become the first fighter ever to defend both her titles simultaneously.
Yeah, and if she do that, she will, at this point, she doesn't have really something to prove, but she can't lose, of course. She is the GOAT, and I believe the GOAT will destroy again. But let's talk about the first fight.
One more second before we jump right into this. You and I talked about this a little bit offline. Do you think that if for some reason Felicia Spencer does get past Amanda Nunes, do you believe that this fight and Spencer's win will overshadow the former biggest overcome of a sports bet? I believe it was like a 750 to 300 when Ronda Rousey fought Holly Holm. Would that be the biggest underdog story of all MMA?
Yeah. Bigger than Matt Serra against GSP, bigger than Weidman against Anderson, bigger than anything. This will be the biggest upset in the history, I believe.
Now, and that's not a knock on Felicia Spencer or anything. I just think that it speaks volumes to how great Amanda Nunes is. Let's talk about her last performance. I mean, it was probably out of her title reign, her least lackluster performance, but she definitely showed that she is still dominant, and she can continue to be dominant. Even if we look at one performance before that, the young woman who we were just talking about, Holly Holmes, got her head kicked off by Amanda Nunes. And if you know anything about Holly Holmes, that's what she does, is kicks people's heads off.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, Amanda is destroying every single person that ever held a belt in this females division. I believe she should fight against Joanna next, just to kill other former champions. That's what she needs to do, because Valentina, Ronda, Misha, Holly, she destroyed everybody.
Cyborg.
Yeah, Cyborg, of course. How can I forget about Cyborg?
When we say that, I mean, just imagine the amount of women who have stood in front of Chris Cyborg and failed. And look at the one lady who if you even take Cyborg out of the equation, she still has a hell of a resume for GOAT. We're talking about all-time GOAT, not just women's. She would already have that locked up. Adding Chris Cyborg to that list, the hit list, how do you not guarantee her as a GOAT?
Yeah, I agree with you. Listen, Cyborg, people used to lose against her just before even stepping in the cage.
Muhammad Ali style.
Yeah, and Amanda went like, who's that girl, and she knocked her out in the first round. So Amanda is definitely the GOAT in the females fighting world.
No, for sure. Now, to start off this very stacked UFC 250 is a great catch-up weight matchup between Evan Dunham and Herbert Burns. Herbert Burns, obviously the younger brother of Gilbert Burns. The two brothers have looked phenomenal here recently in the UFC. Gilbert, his last fight was his UFC debut, now looking to go a perfect 2-0 in the UFC against a very game and very talented veteran Evan Dunham.
Yeah, Evan Dunham, I feel like he's one of those fighters that have been forever in the UFC. And Burns, actually, like you said, he's the brother of Gilbert. So this will be an interesting matchup. I hope for him that he will have the same type of performance his brother had. But Evan is not an easy fight for him, so we will see.
No, like matchup. You said, Evan is not an easy go for anybody. Last year, he dropped his very last fight. Now, looking to come back, I really think that they have a very tough fight in front of Evan Dunham. But, I mean, obviously the wily veteran could pull off the upset, no problem. Herbert Burns, though, definitely another guy to keep your eye on. Great striking. Obviously, the Burns family has a huge pedigree of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. These two brothers are probably the best Brazilian brothers in a smaller weight class when it comes to Jiu-Jitsu in MMA. Obviously, when you talk about the bigger weight classes, we got to know Garris.
Yeah, I agree with you.
In the light heavyweight division, we have the undefeated Alonzo Minifield going up against Devin Clark. Both these two men are heavy-handed. Devin Clark puts his opponents out, but I have not seen people be put out like Alonzo Minifield puts people out. To win his fight on the Contender Series, he ran across the cage and just manhandled his opponent. It really made quick work of him. He did the same thing in his UFC debut. I really think that this Alonzo Minifield has a huge future. He took out Vinicius Moreira in his very first UFC fight, 3 minutes and 56 seconds. His second UFC fight, he finished in 3 minutes and 19 seconds. If he wins by 3 minutes this time, we're just going to call him the 3-minute man, and it's going to be for a good reason.
Yeah. Alonzo is a very dangerous fighter. His performance against Paul Craig was amazing.
Yeah, and Paul Craig was on a roll at that time.
Yeah, he's a very scary fighter. But a guy like Devin Clark, who had his ups and downs, because he's like somehow in a weird streak where he wins, then he loses, then he wins, then he loses.
Yes.
This is a very interesting matchup. I think that maybe Devin Clark will not be stopped in maybe the 3 first minutes, but I definitely feel like Alonso is going to win this fight.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen as soon as he usually takes out his other opponents. Yeah. But they have definitely been preparing for each other for a while. This matchup was originally scheduled for May 8th, now bumped back to this UFC 250 card. Can't wait to see these two go at it. Personally, for you, who do you think is going to come out on top?
Like I told you, I really feel that Alonso is the superior fighter in this fight.
Yeah, for sure. I'd have to agree with you. In the flyweight division, though, we have two contenders. Jussier Formiga versus Alex Perez. Perez has looked very, very good here as of recently, but obviously so has Formiga. Perez is the younger fighter, though, only being 28. If I looked at Formiga, I would have never guessed on paper that he's 36 years old, but he holds an 1.5 inch reach advantage, and he's a half an inch shorter than Alex Perez. I want to say Perez has the advantage in the striking, but Formiga for sure has the grappling advantage.
It's a very tough fight to call because I believe that it's some sort of an even fight.
It's a 50-50 fight for sure.
Yeah. Someone have a little bit more advantage on striking. The other one have a little bit more advantage in the grappling. Definitely an interesting matchup, but I can't really give you a prediction about this fight because it's really tough to say.
Now listen, that fight right there is a co-main event on most fight nights. That is the main event of the early prelims of UFC 250. All of the prelims are going to be on ESPN. Thanks to pandemic, ESPN has been putting on all of the fights straight to their main channel. MMA has been played in front of millions and millions of people right now, and what great exposure for the sport. In the middleweight division, to start off the prelims, Charles Byrd takes on Maki Patola. Coco bombs Mr. 12-5. He has looked very, very good in the UFC. His last performance was a loss, but outside of that, he looked phenomenal in his contender series fight. I really think that the sky is the limits for this kid. He just had a flat performance against Callan Porter.
Yeah, interesting matchup to be the first fight of the prelims.
Yes.
It's a very interesting matchup. I don't think that I can really, for this fight, also predict a winner.
I got
I believe.
Coco bombs.
Yeah, you have Coco Bombs because you just like the fact that he's Coco Bombs. That's what I think. But listen, interesting matchup. Even some sort when it comes to the height, Marky have a slight reach advantage.
Yeah, Mackie has the 2-inch reach advantage.
Yeah,
And
so
he's
maybe
normally
Mackie.
a 170-pound fighter. He is going up to the 185-pound weight class. He said that he feels out more here. And because of the whole virus, it was just a better option for him at this time.
Maybe he's right. Guess we will find out.
I guess we will find out. He might have that Calvin Gastelum effect.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Cody Stamann, 18-2-1, is taking on Brian Keller, 21-10 in the featherweight division. Now, at one point in time, I would have told you that Cody Stamann is on the fast track to a UFC title shot. Since then, he's dropped, I believe, back and forth fights. Now, he lost to Aljamain Sterling, which was really the downfall for him. At that point, I thought if he would have won that Aljo fight in 2018, he would have been on a whole nother level. He beat Brian Caraway before that fight, but in his last fight, which was the most impressive performance, I think, he beat a guy who was on the prelims of this card, Alejandro Perez. Now, one thing that I thought was a bad draw. Okay, at December 7th, 2019, Overeem versus Rosenstreich, Cody Stamann and Song Yadong went to a draw. I think Song Yadong won that fight, personally.
Yeah. Listen, they gave him a draw, but I'm not feeling like it's really mattered at the end of the day because Song Yadong, we are talking about him more than Cody right now.
I think Song Yadong is the future of this division. I've been saying it for a while. I think the kid has a phenomenal chin and phenomenal boxing. Cody Stamann's wrestling, though, is top notch. Brian Keller is a wily vet, and it's really that passing of the guard moment. Cody Stamann has been a guy who has really been able to rise to the occasion up until he gets thrusted into that big, huge spotlight. Well, at this point, he's ascending back up to that spotlight. I think he's going to make quick work of Brian Keller.
I agree with you. I think that Cody will look great in this fight. That's what I think.
Now, Ian Heinisch in the middleweight division of 13-3 is taking on Gerald Meerschaert, 30-12. God damn, he's had 42 professional fights. Mr. Gerald Meerschaert. Crazy when you think about it. He's only 32 years old. These guys are a year apart. He has a 5-inch reach advantage, Gerald Meerschaert, though. I think that 5-inch reach advantage is going to play handy to him. Obviously, he is a great submission expert, but I think the striking is going to be the biggest difference. If you look at Meerschaert in his last 3 performances, he's won 1, lost 1, won 1. He's beaten the likes of Derwin Wynn and Trevin Giles, but lost to our good friend Eric Anders. Now, do you think that he continues this lose 1, win 1 trend and we see a loss here at UFC 250? Or do you think that Mr. Gerald Meerschaert has kind of written those wrongs and you see him now ascend up that middleweight ranking?
I think that he will have his second consecutive win because when you see, I believe his experience in the cage and that reach advantage, I believe, will really play off in this fight. Yeah. It's huge. It's a huge reach advantage. So I really believe that it will play off in this fight.
Now, one of the most intriguing matchups of the night is in the featherweight division. Two great jiu-jitsu experts. Alex Caceres is taking on the young Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper has looked phenomenal in the UFC. The kid is 20 years old. I mean, when I was 20, I wasn't even half to anything of my potential that it could have been. This kid is sitting here fighting in the UFC, taking out the likes of Daniel Timmer. Now he has a stiff competition ahead of him. Do you think that they are pushing Chase Hooper too far and too quickly, or do you think that this is a perfect opportunity for him to showcase his skills and show that he is a real threat in the featherweight division?
I believe this is a great test for him. I think that it's a test that he can handle. But if he wins this fight, I'm kind of afraid that the next fight they will give him will be too much for him. But for this fight, I don't think it's too much for him. Alex Caceres is a great fighter, but I don't see him as someone who is way better than Chase Hooper.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting fight. I think Hooper has a slight advantage grappling.
Yeah.
I think with the veteran experience, so I think it's going to drive Caceres to get the victory here. I could see Hooper puts himself in a lot of bad situations to win fights. It hasn't bit him in the ass yet, but I mean, it's only a matter of time once he gets to these featherweight killers where it does end up biting him in the ass.
Yeah. I agree with you, but his grappling is very good. He's the son of Ben Askren for a reason, man.
No, for sure.
Those curls, I believe those are the key. You need to have curly hair, listen, to be a grappler like that.
You know what? A Khabib underneath all that hair is probably curly.
No, he have really straight hair. You can see him right now on Instagram.
Listen,
he actually have some
joke,
gray hair.
Waleed, all right? I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
I didn't
but
mean
listen,
to talk
he
about
has
your
some
goat.
curly hair. That shit he brings on the top of his head. That hat, it's kind of curly. So
there we go. See?
Yeah.
Now you're picking up what I'm putting down, Waleed.
Yeah.
Now, one guy who is definitely picking stuff up and putting it down and passing it a little bit. This next man has really jumped onto the scene here in MMA. He has unfortunately had a couple doping incidences, and I'm not talking about, the poor performance enhancing kind.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Sugar Show Sean O'Malley has proven that he is one of the best bantamweights in the world. Now, from his last outing, you really seen him grow into that man body. Like he's really grown into being a man. He is 25 years old now at this point with a 72-inch reach in the bantamweight division. I think it's going to be hard for most people to try to keep up with that. He's 5'9". His opponent, Eddie Weiland, is 5'6". Now, just guys who are 5'9" should not be able to make 135 pounds. Sean O'Malley does it safely. He does it very easily. I really think he's a problem for a lot of 135ers, and I think we're going to unfortunately see that here soon. And I really think that you're about to see the Sugar Show take off in a fucking rocket.
Yeah. A win against a guy like Eddie Wineland. Listen, the sky is the limit for Sean O'Malley. He is the one of those potentially huge future star in the UFC. You have everything. You have the charisma, you have the skills, you have the mic skills, you have the story, you have the background. You have everything to be a huge star. And
bro, he broke his leg. He sat in the middle of the octagon, fucking did the interview. I love you, Joe Rogan. What's not to love about Sugar Sean O'Malley?
His last fight, he looked like somehow pissed off because he was angry because of that layoff. So I think there's some hunger in him right now because he feel like he shouldn't be fighting against a guy like Eddie Wineland like months ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, so he feel like maybe he got robbed.
I seen him debut at UFC 222 with Mackenzie Dern. I mean, Mackenzie Dern's had a child since then, and Sean O'Malley's unfortunately been sitting on the sideline because of doping situations.
But I believe that he.
And when the fuck are we gonna get rid of this whole weed thing in MMA? Okay, like this is some bullshit. If a fighter tests positive for marijuana in MMA, why the fuck is he being suspended? Now, I believe his second test might have been for a banned substance that was not marijuana, but the first one was for sure fucking marijuana. And why he ever got suspended in the first place is beyond me.
I believe they are changing some rules about the
It's
marijuana.
about damn time.
They called it the Nate Diaz rules, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, I believe they're changing.
What they need. Now in the welterweight division, Neil Magny, 22-7, is taking on Anthony Rocco Martin, 17-5. Now tell me, what do you think about Rocco Martin's last performance? He looked kind of flat-footed against Ramazan Ivik, and then also he looked flat-footed against Damian Maia. Do you think that much has changed in his camp that is really going to put a different performance on this time?
First of all, that Rocco name is a porn actor name. I don't know why his name like that. Listen, but to answer your question,
Anthony Rocco Martin.
Tony is a very good fighter, and this is a very interesting matchup because I always enjoy watching Neil Magny fighting. So Neil Magny have the reach advantage, of course, in this division. I believe he has the reach advantage against everyone. Is it enough for him to win against Tony? We will see.
6.5 inches.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a huge reach advantage for Mr. Neil Magny. And it's not even like he's super tall or anything. He's 6'2". I mean, Anthony Rocco Martin's 6 foot even, the same size as I am. I mean, Neil Magny just has those crazy, crazy long arms, kind of like John Jones.
Yeah, you have that weird body type. Well, what do you think about this fight? Do you think that Tony may win this fight? Do you think Neil Magny?
I think Neil Magny takes care of business in this one. Listen. When he beat Li Jingliang, I would think we really saw a completely different Neil Magny. I really, really think that we're going to continue to see an improved Neil Magny. Some guys, get busted for steroids, come back, they're never the same. Neil Magny got busted, came back, and has looked even better since before he left. Kind of like he got put on fucking timeout, and he just went pedal to the metal the entire time, just refining his skills.
Yeah, Neil Magny is really that type of fighter that keeps on evolving and evolving every time you see him.
And his cardio is not going to be an issue because he trains up in elevation. So he trains up at Denver. Zero issue there with that. I really think, like I said, we could be seeing somebody that is really dangerous in this welterweight division.
I agree with you.
Now, in the bantamweight division, one of the most intriguing matchups of the night, and in my opinion, I think the co-main event, even though they put another fight out there, Aljamain Sterling is taking on Corey Sandhagen in what, in my eyes, is a title eliminator. If Aljamain wins, he gets the next shot at Petra Yan or whoever it may be. I believe it's Yan versus Aldo. Yeah, it's me. Yan's going to win. Now, Aljo with a win gets a shot at Yan. Corey Sandhagen with the win gets a shot at Yan. Great matchups to set up the future of the bantamweight division. Oh, wait, Cody Garbrandt is in the co-main event against Rafael Assunção. So it's almost like we have a little de facto four-way tournament to determine who will be the next number one contender after Jose Aldo. My question for you, if Aljamain Sterling goes in there and starches Corey Sandhagen, or vice versa, if Corey Sandhagen goes in there and starches Aljamain Sterling, and both of those men or either one of those men walk out completely healthy, do you think they somehow leapfrog Aldo for the shot at Yan for the vacant bantamweight title?
It has to be, I believe, a huge performance to make Dana White change his mind. But I'm not sure that he can leapfrog something. I believe the UFC right now actually gave us some Easter egg that I believe not every MMA fan will agree with. I believe if Cody Garbrandt wins that co-main event in some great fashion, he may be fighting against one of those two guys, because I don't see how in the world Cody Garbrandt is actually in the co-main event and not this fight.
No, for sure. In my opinion, though, or at least from the outside looking in, I think the best fighter out of the four is Aljo. I think second is Corey. I think it's a tie between Rafael and Cody Garbrandt for third. My biggest question mark when it comes to Cody Garbrandt is how's that shin? If you get touched more than 2-3 clean shots, you're done. You are in a very emotional fighter. Have you been able to clean that up as well? I don't mean to criticize Cody Garbrandt a whole lot right now, but these are questions that we need to have asked on Saturday. Have you been able to control yourself to where you don't get in those firefights? And will you be able to withstand the shot or two that you will take if you do get into those firefights?
If he has the right mindset, listen, Cody Garbrandt, people forget his performance against Dominic Cruz. They forget how good he is. Before that TJ Dillashaw
Dominic Cruz.
He was a killer. Cody Garbrandt was killing everybody in this division, finishing people. But let's talk about Aljamain Sterling and Corey Sandhagen. Give me a prediction. Do you think Aljamain will come up as the winner?
Listen, I've gone against Corey Sandhagen so many times, and it's bit me in the ass over and over again. I just don't think it happens this time. I think Aljamain Sterling is too much for him. Aljo is that guy who I talked a little bit about, other fighters doing this, is he gets to that moment and then loses. Okay. Yeah. Stamen, who we talked about earlier, same way. Aljamain Sterling was right there at a title shot, got head kicked by Magic Marlon Moraes, shot back down, has been on a tear ever since. I think this is the moment that he gets past that barrier, whether it's a mental block or whatever. And I think that you see him as the consistent number one contender for the UFC bantamweight title. Unfortunately, I believe he's going to have to wait behind Jan and Aldo.
Yeah, this is what I think. I think Aljamain Sterling, to win this fight, needs to take the fight to the ground and out-wrestle Corey Sandhagen. This is what even though it's not easy. Yeah, because Corey is very dangerous on his back. And the problem is for Aljamain also, striking-wise, Aljamain have a problem keeping his hand low, and Sandhagen is a tremendous striker and is very dangerous. So I think that Corey Sandhagen may win this fight. This is what I actually think. I think that Aljamain Sterling have some holes in his game plan that doesn't work very good against a guy like Corey Sandhagen.
I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, Corey Sandhagen is completely undefeated, 5-0 in his UFC career. If he makes it 6-0 on Saturday night, it is hard to deny this man a shot at whoever the next champion is.
Yeah.
We're such in flex, I can't even say who he's going to fight. Fuck, it's ridiculous right now.
Piriano, Aldo, that's who's next for
sure. We never even know. Now, this next fight, I want to talk to you about one thing. I think this was the safest fight for Cody Garbrandt to come back to in the bantamweight division. If you know Rafael Assunção, you know him as a great ground fighter. Do you really think that he is going to take it to Cody Garbrandt striking, knowing that Garbrandt has very good striking?
Well, Cody was in a 3-fight losing streak, so giving him a fight like Assunção really makes sense. You're not going to give Cody Garbrandt a guy who's on a roll right now. That's not what he needs, and this fight makes sense. The only problem with this fight
was a guy who was one fight away from a title fight.
Exactly. The problem with this fight is the only problem I have with this fight is why the hell is it the co-main event? Is it, like I said, some Easter egg? I believe Dana White deep down inside, he's a fan of Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt is a guy that can sell pay-per-views in this division where there's not a lot of guys that can sell pay-per-views.
I think the fans
want him to
clamor for Cody Garbrandt, and I think that's why they've put him in this situation. And I think with a favorable matchup like a Assunção, you could possibly see Cody put on one of his better performances, especially as you alluded to here in recent years.
Yeah. This is listen, Cody Garbrandt is someone who fights with his emotions. That's very bad for him.
And it's dangerous.
But one win, that's all he needs. Because emotions, when you lose, of course, it will break you down, and but when you are in a winning streak or in just a win, that's all he needs. Cody Garbrandt right now, I
He
really think
has
that
the
he just need
talent.
one win.
He
Yeah,
has
yeah,
the
for sure.
talent.
For sure.
I feel like he needs to get that confidence and that swagger back that he had when he was fighting Cruz. When he
Yeah.
did beat Cruz, I feel like TJ, no pun intended, really knocked that out of him.
That first round against TJ, Cody looked great. It
Both
goes
first
up till the
rounds.
second.
He
Yeah.
looked at both first rounds looked phenomenal against TJ, and then TJ just really closed the distance.
Yeah. I believe TJ maybe was
EPOs or
yeah.
not.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was just about he was on his head. He couldn't defeat him. He can't defeat
Yes,
TJ.
he can't defeat TJ. I
He can't.
absolutely
He can't.
agree. And
He
see, and
can't.
that's the other thing. TJ's coming back here soon. How much longer does he have for
Soon.
a layoff?
No, I don't.
We're talking about less than 6 months.
Oh, really? That quick? Well,
So
TJ may be back.
2 years, right?
No, I believe he still have 1 year left. I'm not sure about that.
Let's look this up real quick, just because
Yeah,
shits
because
and giggles.
it's no, it's very important.
Super
because,
important, especially with this division.
Yeah, because he can be like maybe not for the next title fight, but maybe for the one afterward. That's where he can be,
Possibly.
TJ.
Let's check this out real quick.
My God, TJ is back like by the end of the year. And let's imagine if Jose Aldo can't fight against Peter Yan and this title is still vacated. TJ may come back for a title fight.
Okay,
directly.
I got a little ahead of myself.
Okay, so 2021.
So technically the date where he started his January 18th, 2019. So
Okay.
January 18th, 2021 will be when he's able to come back. So yeah, I'm not that off. He's only, what are we in, May? The beginning of June? It's 6-1. We're 7 months away from Mr. TJ Dillashaw possibly coming back and throwing himself right back in the mix of this bantamweight division. So I mean, it's very possible we could see TJ Dillashaw by March of next year in the thick of things in this bantamweight division, and maybe that's what brings Henry Cejudo back.
I agree with you. Maybe that's what will bring Henry. I'm not sure if Henry will come back that quick, but yes. Let's talk about again like the co-main events. What's your prediction for this fight?
I think Rafael Assunção is going to, unfortunately, not get the best of Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt is going to go in there and put on a striking display. I think it's going to be a mistake for Assunção to stand in front of Garbrandt. I think Garbrandt is going to recognize that mistake very early and put on a ton of pressure on Assunção. I think the pressure is one thing that Assunção is always folded under, and I think if Cody can mimic what other people have done, it'll play a very strong outing for Mr. Cody Garbrandt. And like you said, a win thrust him right back in the top of things in the bantamweight division, especially a win over a veteran like Rafael Assunção.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Cody, but I'm afraid, like I'm a fan of Cody. I hope that he win this fight, but Rafael Assunção is not an easy matchup,
No.
and we don't know what's the game plan for Rafael. We don't know what kind of Cody Garbrandt we're going to see. So this is a big question mark in this fight.
Now, in the main event, probably like I've said, the most decorated fighter in MMA history. Nobody has ever defended both of their titles simultaneously. On Saturday night, Amanda Nunes looks to be the first fighter ever to do so. Now, she doesn't have an easy test in front of her. Felice Spencer is, if you listen to the countdown, somebody that Amanda Nunes and Nina Ansaroff have had their eye on for a while. Amanda Nunes was an ambassador for Invicta, Felicia Spencer's old promotion. Amanda Nunes has been cage side for Felicia Spencer's fights now multiple times. Yeah. Do you think that she has seen everything that Felicia Spencer has to offer, or do you think Felicia Spencer was keeping things in the back of her pocket, knowing one day she might have a showdown with the 135-pound, 135-pound queen, Amanda Nunes?
Well, I'm not sure about that part. I'm not sure that was keeping something in secret, I guess, for Amanda. I don't think that things works out like that in the MMA world. What I know is Amanda Nunes, no doubt, is the better fighter in this
For
fight.
sure.
I'm not sure about the betting on this fight, but maybe if Felicia wins, it will be an even bigger upset than Holly Holm against Ronda Rousey. But I want to ask you, if let's imagine Felicia is going to win this fight, how do you think she's going to win? What's the key for her to win this fight?
Pressure. I think that is huge. I think when you have, you know, Amanda Nunes stalking you and putting you into the corner, I think it's a bad situation for any female. I don't care who you are. I think if you put Amanda Nunes on her back foot and she has to react to what you're doing, that's where I think Felicia Spencer finds her openings. I think if Felicia Spencer can get this fight to the ground, even though Nunes is a black belt, I think Felicia has a very, very, very small advantage on the ground. Now, can she utilize that? I'm not too sure. As you talked about earlier, a huge underdog. Nunes is a minus 590 favorite. Felicia Spencer is a plus 450 underdog. Huge, huge, completely different, one-sided. The guys in Vegas are clearly saying that Amanda Nunes is the much better fighter. If on Saturday night Felicia Spencer hears and knew, I wouldn't be as shocked as I was the night Holly Holm took off Ronda Rousey's head.
Uh, I will not be surprised when I hear and new, because if so, that means we will see like the 5 round, I believe, and we will see the mauling, because that's what she needs to do. She needs to take her to the ground and make it a dirty fight, and make Amanda getting tired. But Amanda can fight if you put pressure on her. Ask Chris Cyborg. Cyborg tried to go
Toe to toe.
directly to
Yes.
Amia, and she knocked her out.
But the thing that
cage
I
against
think
her
Felicia
back.
Spencer will utilize a lot more that Cyborg didn't. Cyborg, threw a great combination, but then stood right in front of her. I think you'll see Felicia Spencer throw the 1-2 to distract her so she could shoot. I really think that she's going to be throwing combinations just to set up the takedown.
Yeah, but what? It's a very tough match for her. Listen,
Dude, I've seen three girls in Amanda Nunes' career be able to take her down. Valentina Shevchenko, Jermaine Durandame, and Kat Zingano. And I mean like 3 women to control her on the ground.
Yeah. Zingano was the last one to beat her, I believe.
Yes, Zingano was. Valentina looked like she was too small, but still was able to hold her own. Felicia Spencer, though, is a true 145-pound female. If she could actually put her weight onto Amanda Nunes, I think it'll be something that Amanda has never felt and not had to deal with before. And I think the unknown of fight, she's usually the bigger person outside of maybe Cyborg, where she might have been a little even. Felicia Spencer is definitely going to be the bigger girl on Saturday night. And I think, listen, if I was a betting man, I would put at least $20 on Felicia Spencer.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is what I want. I want a good fight from both females. I don't want to see Amanda destroying Felicia. If Felicia wins, it will be a great upset, and I have no problem with that. But I want Amanda to have some struggles in this fight, because I don't want Amanda to be too much cocky and too much confidence. That's what I want.
Who wins the main event?
It's hard to go against Amanda Nunes.
Truly,
and
100%.
I did against Holly Holm, and that didn't work out well for me. So I will not go against her in this fight. I will go with Amanda Nunes. How she's going to win, I believe, I believe maybe by submission, because Amanda's ground game is not that bad. Maybe Amanda will win by submission in this fight.
You never know. Maybe Amanda is the one that pushes the pressure. Maybe Amanda's the one that goes for a takedown. And she's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She is a crafty grappler. I could see her winning by submission. I could see her winning by knockout. There's a reason why she is the greatest fighter of all time. It's because she's well-rounded. She is the most well-rounded female we've ever seen grace the mixed martial arts. We've seen a lot of women who have been, I'm going to say, one-trick ponies. Ronda Rousey, had great grappling. Even Valentina Shevchenko has amazing striking. Her grappling is definitely leaps and bounds above Rousey's striking. So I'm not trying to compare the two, but you see them where they have a dominant one base, where Amanda Nunes is a full mixed martial artist, and I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, I agree with you.
3 fights to watch.
So I will go with the co-main event because I'm very intrigued by how Cody Garbrandt will look. Sugar Sean O'Malley, of course, because he is one of my favorite up-and-comer fighters. And the main event of the prelims, Chase Hooper against Alex Caceres.
Yes, I circle that Alex Caceres, Chase Harper fight. If there was fans, I think they'd probably be booing more than they'd be excited in this fight because there's going to be a lot of grappling. But for us hardcore fans, we're really going to enjoy it. For me, I think Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen is a huge fight. How that is not the co-main event is beyond me. Listen, Alonzo Minifield is a bad man. And if he makes quick work of Devin Clark on Saturday, he'll become 10-0. I would love to see him against the elite of that light heavyweight division. Let's see him against a Volkan Ozdemir. I would love to see that matchups.
I want to ask you, him against Jamal Hill, what do you think about this fight?
Great fight. Jamal Hill is a fast, dynamic fighter. He is long and lengthy to where Minifield is short and just a fucking brick shit house. It'll be interesting. It'll be fucking 2 brick walls running at each other, and whoever gets knocked down first is going to win. The other fight for me to watch, Charles Byrd, Coco Bombs, Mackie Patilla. I really feel like Mackie just fell flat-footed in his UFC debut, and I think that this performance will really show you why he is here and why he's going to be here to stay. For you, Wally Wall, anything else for UFC 250?
Nothing very special. I just think that this is a great card. Main event is amazing. Those bantamweight fights are actually pretty good. So I'm just going to enjoy this card.
100%. Me too. Listen, people, stop fucking looting, okay? Go home, chill, stop spreading the virus, hang out. Saturday night, there's going to be some great fights, all on ESPN, live on pay-per-view. And I want to say, for you fans out there that are bitching about this card because it's not just like some super stacked from top to bottom card, it is literally stacked from top to bottom. You just need to look at the matchups and understand what's going on in the world of MMA to understand these matchups. Now, I understand the co-main event is not the greatest thing we've seen in recent history, but we have the women's GOAT / possibly the greatest fighter of all time fighting on this card. We have multiple up-and-coming stars. I mean, have you seen the memes about Chase Hooper and Sugar Sean O'Malley? Chase Hooper is before you do weed, and Sean O'Malley's after you start smoking weed.
Yeah, one of them do weed, have tattoos. The other one likes to eat M&Ms. They are like the total opposite. Like.
Exactly. I got nothing else on UFC 250 except for sit back and enjoy the card, guys. Wally Wall, thank you again for joining me as always, and stay classy, everyone.
Peace.